my Greater Philadelphia Tournament report. So, I just got back home like maybe, 10-15 minutes ago. Had to eat something real quick and drink something real quick because, man, I was thirsty. Very thirsty. More than hungry. I still ate. I mean, I still haven't slept in over, 20 hours now or something like that. But I'm full of energy drink, and then I drank more energy drink, so that doesn't help. So I guess I'm going to be busy doing some stuff for a couple hours before I even finally fall asleep. But anyway, so this are my 9-round matchups. It was best of 1 pre-side. I was playing Hatch, Aggro Hatch, skillless Aggro Hatch, because apparently there's other Hatchhyack decks that like to be called Aggro, but they don't use a skillless strategy that like I do. Sorry, a little parched. So my round 1 was against Trunks Jita. That has been ever since I started my competitive journey this year. And that reminds me, there is another event coming up in Jersey. I'll try to go to that one. So I'm doing what I can, trying to make it to events. I do gotta get me a new state ID because mine's expired, and I gotta try to get a passport just in case. Just I want to travel, but also just to make sure I can go to more events, especially if I have to fly, right? Definitely have to look into Uber, just taking public transportation to a tournament, taking about 4 hours to try to get there. That sucks ass. Ironically, it didn't suck that much coming back home, and it felt faster. But going to the event, man, felt like forever. Anyway, round 1, like I said, Trunks Jita, and I know it's every time I'm at locals that I went there, Trunks Jita was my round 1 opponent. What makes it weird is like it just felt like now it was like, yeah, this is a little suspicious. I'm thinking that this rig. I'm thinking they're deliberately pairing me up against Trunks Jita or a player that plays it. But then to see it happen when I was at this event, I'm like, I doubt. No way. This is a coincidence. Has to be. But it's just the fact that it's just so funny. Trunks Jita is my first deck I go up against, and since I played against it a lot, I have experience against it. So it's a relatively easy matchup. But I still ended up losing. Was very close because my opponent had 3 cards left in their deck. But their life was at 4, so that was a little unfortunate. Mainly because I didn't get my skillless cards, and there was one moment where I forgot to double strike. Because I should have had like a 30k double strike battle card swinging at my opponent, and I forgot to actually, go in for that double strike. So that was the thing. And then round 2, remember this is best of 1, so obviously the match is not going to go that long. Round 2, I was going against Reddit's hand control. You can see on round 5, I went up against Cell Reboot for those who have issues with the Cell matchup. I'll get into that. But ironically, it was the Reddit's hand control that was the real issue when it came to just hand destruction. So I did very good though, fighting against the hand control. It just I just ran out of gas, and I couldn't get my what is it called, my 8-drop Gogeta thwarting out there. A lot of times I kept getting warped from my hand by the leader skill, so that was problematic. And I'm thinking, I think, did I have my unison or I didn't? Something like that. It could happen. You can definitely draw it bad, especially round 1 for me was terrible. Because I was drawing all my defensive cards instead of my offensive cards. And that's what really was hurting me. Ironically, right? That my aggro cards, that my defense cards in a Hatchhyack deck was the problem. And then where am I at? Okay, Rats, like I said, hand control. So it just made it hard for me to play out my big boys and get them out there to finish the game out for me. But as you can see, still got my opponent down to 2 life. I just wasn't able to finish out the game. Main thing, a pattern that happened against in like a lot of these matches, barrier blockers. God damn it, I hate that Hatchhyack can't have a barrier blocker. But everybody else, I keep saying barrier blocker, blocker negate, because the whole token ruling thing. Damn. Trying to clear my throat. Anyway, so everybody else gets to play except me. I have to settle for what is it called? Power burst. I still made use of power burst. I just hate the fact that the best I can do is a 5k combo power. Afterwards, when it would be nice to have a freaking blocker. Anyway, so that was an issue I was seeing. Let's see. Round 3, Hatchhyack was against Android 16. I was doing really good, but then his defense just kept getting stronger. I would be swinging like 30k double strike, and he's manages to out combo it with ease. I guess I should have pushed it up to 40k double strike, and that way it wouldn't be that easy. Because of course his leader was awakened, so he would use his leader's ability to become 25k. So then he will only need an extra 10k just to be 35k to out combo. So I should have taken that to account, the fact that he can bump up to 25k, and definitely should have tried to do a 35k or even 40k swings. 40k would have been better, obviously. Do some 40k swings if I'm going to do the whole double strike. I just kept doing like 30 double strike because I'm used to it, and most people tend to not out combo it, and they'll take it. But in this scenario, he definitely was capable of defending against it, so I definitely had to push it. So it's more of just sorry, it's just more about just paying attention to that small detail, and then just so now you're learning, right? Small detail is, because that leader can become essentially a 25k, you got to make sure you push your attack power beyond 30. So try to swing up, try to get up to 40k plus if you can, if you're going to try to do double strike against that leader when it's awakened. So that's just a lesson learned right there. Because most leaders, they're just 15ks, right? They don't typically jump up to 25k, but that leader does, so keep that in mind. Round 4, my opponent didn't show up, so I got that W. Round 5 was the reboot cell, so I was like, ooh, cool, I'm going up against the cell deck, so now I'll be able to pit Hatchhyack versus cell, because I've played against the cell deck with before, with other decks, but if I'm right, never with Hatch. So now I got a chance to, play Hatch against it. And interesting enough, the duel went really, really fast. Really fast. But I still got him down to 2 life. But the match went really, really fast. Mainly because I was going all in on that aggro, just bang, 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 bang. All that skillet stuff, just swinging at my opponent left and right. He definitely wasn't too happy with that, but he was able to go up his chain and get to the 8 drop. Sell. Where's my sell cards? Suppose I have a stack. A bunch of, I got my super combos here, so I got a stack of the new multicolor super combos. That's awesome. Let's see. Where the hell is the sell cards? It's supposed to be right here. Got a whole stack of cards. That's weird. Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's in the deck box. Okay, so it's in my backpack, which is over there. Let me pause for a second. All right, I'm back. I'm looking at my Cell Undying Torrent. Because the funny thing, I'm looking at I'm like, how did it become double strike? It's the Cell Unending Torrent. It's a 20k blocker, 8 drop. With the active battle ability, once per turn, if your leader card is Cell, place 1 card from under this card into the bonus drop area to switch to active mode. So essentially, it's a 20k dual attacker. It's an 8 drop. Somehow he got it to double strike, but I think it's because he used the Dr. Jarol thing and made it double strike. And I had a sparking negate. I had a power burst, and I could have, just stopped the attack and only taken 1 damage, but I didn't, and ended up dying right there and then. When I could have made it into the next turn, which definitely would have allowed me to make the comeback, and I should have been able to kill him on the following turn. Because I think he killed me after my turn 3. So after I awakened my leader, that's when he killed me. But think about it. After I awakened my leader, my opponent's at 2. So I got him down to 2 life by turn 3. So that's the aggro part, right? But I wasn't able to survive his turn to get to my turn to finish him off. Then we have but when it comes to the Cell reboot thing, it's like, they do play a lot of stuff that that are 1 drops that allow them to go up the chain real easily, so that way they can get to a 4 drop, and the 4 drop turns into the 8 drop, and the 8 drop obviously against Hatch is good because it can attack after the leader's effect triggers, but also the active battle where it can restand. So that's something you gotta keep in mind. Also keep in mind that they have the Doctor's Roll that can give it double strikes, so at least it's a Champa that's on theme, because since it's an Android Champa, basically they could obviously put it under the leader to get the leader's effect, to draw 2 cards and stuff like that. So there's synergy with that. Just like how I used the Mirror Relentless Destruction, or whatever it's called, the 3 drop Overwhelm, because he's an android, and then he makes my opponent discard a card. The Toa is not an android, so that's why I don't use the Toa, even though the Toa powers up the leader. So there's that. I'm trying to think of anything else noteworthy in the Cell reboot match. Obviously, be careful with double strike. Obviously, they can evolve up relatively cheap into an 8 drop, so that's something to keep in mind. And Not much else. It was just the 8 drop, double striking, was putting in some work. The unison was there, but it barely did anything. Of course, Oceanus was MVP. The whole event, very MVP. I almost won game 1 just because of Oceanus. There was another match that I almost won because of Oceanus. Which game was that? Was it the Trunks Overrealm game? Shit, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the second Trunks Cheetah, because I did play against Trunks Cheetah again. And as you can see, this time I was able to get that Trunks Cheetah player down to 2 lives. That's mainly because I did get my aggro stuff. Like, after round 1, I started getting a lot of my aggro stuff, so that's why I was hitting much better numbers. It just that, if a deck was blue, obviously its defensive capabilities is a lot higher than most other colors. Which is why the Android 16 deck, was at 4 life. But you see all the other ones, 2 life, 2 life, 2 life. So, the Trunks Overrealm, I got him down to 1 life. But he got me down to 1 life first, but then I got him back. I got him, on the clapback, right? I got him back, and then I got him down to 1. And then after that, I was like, all right, you got it. That's the best I could do. And that's because I was finally able to play my 8-drop. All my other matches, I had trouble dropping the 8-drop, thwarting. One, because Raditz kept warping my 8-drop, so I couldn't play it because he kept getting rid of it. Android 16, trying to remember. Yeah, that's what it was with the Android 16. I had the advantage, right? Dealt him 4 damage. I'm doing pretty good. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to drop the 8-drop on him. And then he drops, then he drops the Buu Unison. Majin Buu Unison. I'm like, God damn it. That's what I didn't want to see. I had the advantage. Everything was going my way. And then he played the Buu Unison. I was like, oh man, the tables have turned. And it's like, well, we know who's on top of that. Trunks. God-sealing mother effing Trunks. And the funny thing is, I still played it though. I still played my thwarting. What happened was, he got sealed, obviously. And that was the whole point. It's like, if he didn't have the Buu Unison, which was already problematic, it was already getting in the way. But then got sealed on top of it, just, that doesn't help. That makes the situation worse. Then, so that was that. Let's see. Man, I really wish those matches were recorded. Really, really good matches. Really, really epic plays made on my part. And of course, my opponents definitely had to put in work to try to get me back, because I got their life so low so fast that you can literally see them, trying their best to figure out, the best lines of play in order to, hit me back. So that's a thing. And I do appreciate the people who give me props for my strategy. Some people got inspired by some of the cards in my deck, so I appreciate that. It's always good to show people new ways of doing things. That's what I try to do. Always try to be, different, so that way I can have an advantage with that. Let's see. I wasn't the only Hatchhyack player, by the way. There was a non-Hatchhyack player. Some of my opponents were, even said that they were thinking of playing Hatchhyack, bringing it to the event, but they decided not to. Let's see. Where am I at? The Trunks Overrealm. It was a lot of back and forth. Because the funny thing is, the Trunks Overrealm guy, of course, he played his thwarting before I played mine. I played mine right after him, which of course allowed me to get him down to 1 life. But it's because he had, I'm thinking, what did he have that made it where He played something. He did something. What did he do? He did something that made it where Thornton didn't get to do too many attacks. Just thinking. I don't know, I keep thinking, because one of my opponents obviously played Thorn Potential Unleashed, but it definitely wasn't the Trunks player. What did the Trunks player have that made it where my thwarting couldn't do a lot of damage? Was it the blocker negate? Maybe. I think it was. I think that's what it was. I think it was the blocker negate because he can play blocker negate. I can't. So I think that's what it was. That's why I wasn't able to get a lot of attacks to go through. So when I did get an attack to go through, it was just enough to get him down to 1, I guess. So there was that. Let's see. I don't think not much else to say. Other than 8 drop. 8 drop is good. Didn't get to really use the 10 drop. It was mostly energy most of the time. Round 7. I'm trying to think. Round 7. Oh yeah, of course. My opponents didn't show, so got a buy on that. Round 8 was Tranchita. Like I said, I got my opponent down to 2, mainly because I learned from my mistake. You know what's ironic? My opponent in round, well, in more ways than my opponent in round 1 would have lost to me, but I wasted 2 attacks on his battle craft when I should have used it against his leader instead, which would have made a huge difference. At least he would have been down to 2 life instead of 4. But of course, lesson learned, right? And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna try that again. I'm just gonna focus on his, focus on my opponent's leader. And that's how I was able to obviously get my opponent down to 2. But very close, but didn't get to the kill shot. Then my Majin Vegeta matchup was against somebody from my locals, and him and me played before, so I already knew how he plays his deck. But as you can see, I did get him down to 1 life. And I appreciate that he says he enjoys to play against me, so I appreciate that. Of course I return the sentiment because I do appreciate it. Even ironically, even before the match started, I pointed out to him that the first time him and me played, out of all the people I played against, he was the hardest opponent. He was the only one that was actually a threat. Like where I was like, oh shit, like this is a problem. Where typically I'm not. Even if my opponent is doing like some really cool, amazing things, like okay, yeah, it's a big giant boss monster. I expect it to do some herp or derp. It's not that big of a deal, right? Because that's something I expect. But the fact that he was able to have a nice little, 30k double strike, little engine over and over, and I'm like, you know what? That card wouldn't be that much of a problem if it didn't have the ability to restand after I play a counterattack. That ability is what makes it a problem. If it wasn't for that effect, I wouldn't see it too much as a problem. I mean, it's still somewhat of an issue at 30k double strike, but I wouldn't see it as much of a problem. But it's the fact that it does have that effect, and it's like, yeah, that's a problem. Obviously, I have the card. Obviously, Ben saw the value in the card. It is a good card. It definitely works great for his strategy. The funny thing is, I could build the deck. I have literally all the cards. I even have Charisma and Frieza. I'm not much of a counterplay player, but even I have Karis Villain Frieza. Um, so I could pretty much build the deck. The only thing I don't have is Dormant Potential Unleashed. That's the only thing I don't have yet. But if I get them, then yeah, I could pretty much build the deck, or at least a variant of it for myself if I ever feel like it. Because I do have the leader and most of the cards. I do have the 30k Double Strike Vegeta. But yeah, it also reminds me that and there was a situation where my opponent, my Majin Vegeta opponent was attacking, and he literally said it out loud. It's like, I don't even know why I'm overthinking. or something like that. Either I don't know why I'm overthinking, or why am I afraid to attack, or something like that. One of the two things. I can't remember the exact words he said, but it was like along those lines of like hesitating or something like that. It was implying the idea of why is he hesitating, and it's like, thank you, thank you. That just means all my hard work and efforts is paying off. Because think about it, we're just playing a game, and these are just cards. But the fact that you feel some type of way, and he was exhausted after the match. I made a joke about it, about like how hard he worked, you know, to beat me. He did here in the W, that's for sure. Because oh man, I was relentless. The Skilless was putting in work. It's funny for the cards, the Skilless battle cards that we call Skilless, but it actually takes some skill to make them do some shit, considering the fact that they don't have actual skills of their own. So I was definitely putting in some work. Surprised a couple people with the fact that it's like, oh damn, you're swinging over like 20Ks here and there, 30Ks here and there. It's like, yeah, that's the idea. It's you gotta swing big numbers, mid to late game. So you gotta be swinging big numbers. You can't be swinging 10Ks and 15Ks no more. That's cute turn 1, turn 2, but turn 3 and up, your power needs to be 20K plus. So that's the importance of the strategy. And we made jokes about balls and grabbing balls. It's like, okay, I use these 2 Goku, grab 2 balls from the drop, and drop these balls. So a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie. Definitely a lot of familiar faces. Woo. A lot of people obviously recognize me. Shook a lot of hands. Introduced myself to a couple people. The funny thing is, one of the first people I ran into, literally, because I deliberately saw Jordan Markle, and I moved over a little bit just to make sure that my shoulder bumped against his shoulder. Yeah, he is a cool guy. I mean, I'm trying to say sweet, but I didn't want it to sound soft, because a random shoulder bump like that, most people would be like, oh, what the hell, or like, oh shit, that was a surprise. But he was quick to be like, hey, what's up, man? And I was like, yeah, returning the acknowledgement. He knows me, I know him. At least we know of each other, so that's pretty cool. The online community. It definitely was nice to know that I am not without being known, as if that makes any sense, right? It's nice to know that one, there's people that definitely are watching my videos and stuff like that wasn't too obvious that they were until I met them and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, so you've seen my videos. Do a couple of name drops. C-Rod from Super Players, he was walking up, and I was just standing. I forget who I was standing with. Damn, who what? No, can't forget who I was standing with. I was standing with Scott Dashy. So I'm there with Scott Dashy. We're talking, and then you see somebody just slowly walking up. And I look, I'm like, this looks a little familiar. I'm like, wait, is this who I think it is? Is this C-Rod just walking up? So it was just funny. Right, I keep saying C-Rod. Is it C-Rod? Because there's two of them. I'm trying to make sure I'm not saying the wrong name. I think I'm saying the wrong name. I think C-Rod is the one that makes the rap music. Sorry if I'm using the wrong name. Yeah, I think C-Rod is the one that does the rap music. I think I am using the wrong name. But it's one of, unfortunately, I forgot the name, the other name other than C-Rod. So I'm going to just have to say one of the super players, or the other super player that's not C-Rod, I guess. It was just funny. I'm just seeing him. I'm like, wait, is that what I think it is? It's like one of the super players, you know, making jokes. And then, of course, Scott, introducing us like, super players. And then, and, me, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. Introduced by our channels and stuff like that. But the funny thing is, being introduced, considering the fact that it's like, I know who he is. Might not be remembering his name right now, which is very unfortunate and disrespectful. But I know of him, and if he knows of me at least. I've been in their chats a couple of times on their tournament streams and stuff like that. So, we've talked in chats before. So they know of me. But it was just funny. And then we making jokes back and forth about some stuff, and Scott brings up the whole me quitting the game thing. And it's like no, I'm not quitting the game. There's a misunderstanding. I'm just talking about I'm just close to getting to my final form when it comes to the game. Not that I'm quitting the game. I am going to be playing, other games and checking them out, but, I'm still have, Dragon Ball Super Decks, and I'm definitely going to be going to more events. So the idea is that, I'm going to go to more events. So there'll be more content along the line, or not content, but more stuff along the lines of me going to events, me playing competitively and stuff like that, gameplays and things of that nature, whatever I do that has to do with actually playing the game more, right? More of that will come up. Like, obviously you'll see deck profiles here and there, but you won't see deck profiles and no gameplay. The idea is you'll see deck profiles and gameplays eventually, right? Where I'm putting them together, because obviously when I start doing more gameplays, live streams, all that good stuff, then of course people are going to want the list so they can try it out for themselves. Well, of course I gotta give them the deck profile plus the gameplay, but I know more people would like to see me play, see what I be talking about, right? Seeing is believing, as they say. But one of the things about me playing competitively, at least for this event, is that a lot of people, they get to see me play. I've had a couple people walk over and watch my matches, so that was cool. Not the first time that happened, but that was cool. Took pictures with some people, shook a lot of hands, like I said, interacted with a lot of people, introduced myself to some people. Let's see. Ironically, funny, Scott Dash, he was a little unhappy on how fashionably late I was. I'll put it that way. It was a little funny because what was ironic, like the way he talked to me was almost like we were on the same team, like right, like we're team members and stuff. That's what it kind of felt like he was the coach of the team, right? The team leader, He was talking to me like, "Oh man, you gotta be here early and this, that, there." Like, and I tried, but I literally had a 3 to 4 hour travel time to get here. I was taking public transportation, and this was the first time I was taking that route in the first place. So I didn't know what I was doing. I actually ended up wasting an extra 30 to 40 minutes because I got on the wrong bus. So I ended up having to get off the bus that I got on to get on another bus. It's the same number, but it would actually take me all the way to the convention center. It's like, yep, well, lesson learned. Make sure never to do that again. Make sure you get on the right bus. I was following instructions, Google Maps and stuff. So it's just that I made mistakes. So that cost me some time. If I had a car and whatnot, I could have got there in 40 minutes instead of in 4 hours. But anyway, I made it. I got to play 9 rounds, and I played somebody outside. So yeah, so the bonus round. That's what I call it, the bonus round. Somebody, I think it was. Was it? I think it was after round 6 or something. So between round 6 and 7, I'll say 6.5. The bonus round. It was against Dripku because there was somebody. I don't know who he was. I wouldn't be surprised I find out who he is later. But he asked me about unisons. How I deal with unisons. When it comes to playing Hatch, and I pointed out that where's my Hatchhyack? Okay, I'll just try to memorize it. Pointing out stuff obviously like Oceanus, since it works on any card attacking. Trying to make sure I'm not saying it wrong, because if I'm right, it is any card that attacks my opponent has to mill 4 cards. Trying to think, there was another. Was it right? Double checking those. Yeah, it has to be Oceanus. So Oceanus, of course, is good against unisons. But there was another card that I had that. Oh, that's what it was. It was my unison, my Bardic unison. That only works on battle cards. And I combined it, like I used my unison's ability and I dropped Oceanus, so I had both of those effects in effect. So my opponent had a warp a card from the hand and mill 4 every time they wanted to attack with a battle card. If anything else, they just had a mill 4, so that was a thing. So that was in. So that, and I told him about the whole 4-star balls. If you can get a couple of Gokus out there, you can get multiple balls and use the multiple balls to stop a lot of the attacks, especially if your leader's awakened and your opponent's swinging with 15k unisons, right? You can just drop a ball, boom, get to 20, stop that attack, drop a ball. So it was just like that basic lines of play. And what else? Obviously, if I had the Elite Defender in the deck, I would have recommended that as well. But so what happened was he asked me to play, and he's like, all right, we'll play. And he put out his leader, which was Dripku, and it's like, that's why you're asking about unisons versus Hatch, because you play unisons, a whole bunch of them, because you're playing Dripku. I'm like, okay, I get it, fair enough, I have no problem. I mean, to me, ironically, this whole event was just a ton of play testing. That's what it was for me, a whole ton of play testing. So that was cool. So it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's because a lot of people do be saying, Hatch is weak to unison decks and blah blah blah. Unison's this, is Hatchhyack's kryptonite, blah blah blah. I proved that was wrong. Not saying that I didn't lose, I lost, but I was doing very good. He said he was at 3 life, but he actually was at 2 life because he had to use a barrier blocker. I keep saying barrier. Blocker negates twice, and he was already at 4, so he used it twice, so he was actually down to 2 life. So he actually was down to 2 life in that scenario. So I got him down to 2 life. Obviously, if he wasn't using the blocker negates, he would have 0 life, right? Obviously, because clearly I'm swinging with some threats. But yeah, he was doing the unison thing, and I was able to stop some of the attacks with balls and some of other attacks. I just took the damage. Since I already stopped some attacks with balls, it's okay if I take damage from other attacks. It's not too different from somebody just playing aggro like launch or something, just playing a whole bunch of free plays or a whole bunch of cheap 15Ks and swinging them at you, right? If your leader's awake and just a whole bunch of 5Ks will be enough to out combo them. So it's just that basic stuff. Out combo what you can and take what you can't out combo. And then what else I'm trying to think of that's relevant. Of course, Ocean's MVP, especially against Unisons, because it did stop him in his track in one turn. Let's see. Of course, I'm swinging back at him with Unisons, so it was almost like a mirror match, right? If that makes sense, right? It's almost like a mirror match because I'm just like, well, I'm playing I'm playing Unison, swinging with it. I bring out 2 skills battle cards. I'm swinging with one of them, right? So it's like I'm playing a whole bunch of 1-drops cards and swinging at you with it. So what you're doing to me, I could do right back, right? So there was that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit fun. I did get to use, ironically, the same sign in Unison's effect of plussing to give itself 5K and a skills battle card 5K, because most of my skills battle cards stayed on the field, a couple of turns, which is really good for them to stay on the board a little bit while longer. So I was able to put them into work. Obviously, I kept using the 4-star ball on them, so 20K, swinging at my opponent all day, every day, right? So that was awesome. Leader, swinging, Champa, right? Bang, 30K double striking. So I was doing a lot of that. Let's see. Trying to remember something. Oh yeah, Joku. When I was playing somebody, I think it was during the bonus round game. Joku asked if I had super combos in my hatch deck, and I was like, of course not. And I can't remember the exact words he said, but it was pretty much that he was he appreciated that I was on brand, basically, right? The whole like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So, something like that, like that's what I'm talking about. Definitely, that's what I like to hear. Something like that. Cool, awesome. I wish I remember the words. Man, I wish a lot of that stuff was recorded. It'd be so awesome to see our interactions and a lot of the fun we were having. On the personal note, the chairs sucked. They should have gave us some gamer chairs. That would have been badass. Some gamer chairs with some cool tables. They got the basic ass fold out tables. White tables and stuff. We made it work. It's just meh. At least there was air conditions. Most people were complaining about how super cold it was. I'm like, I'm thankful it's super cold. Yes, I agree. It is cold as hell in here, but I'd rather it's cold as hell in here than to be as hot as hell in here, because I'm a big guy. Definitely cannot be sweating with a whole bunch of other dudes in a building. We definitely cannot do that. So I'll take too cold over too hot. And I I didn't have much refreshment. You know, I was running on E when it came to liquid, so that definitely would have been bad if it was extremely hot there. It was hot outside, that's for sure, but inside, it felt better than outside, obviously. There was like anime type conventions, like there was a lot of hot cosplayers. I enjoyed the view. Most of us guys obviously did enjoy a lot of the nice views. Definitely would like to have stayed there longer for the, that aspect of the area. But I'm there to play card games. So what else can I think of? Me and Uni X DBS. We fist bumped. I think that was when we were going into round 8, so we fist bumped, and he went play his game, I went play mine. I think that's what happened there. Trying to remember anything else, anything that stood out specifically. There was a lot of as we call it, shop talk. There was a lot of shop talk going on. A lot of people giving tips and tricks and advice and stuff like that. Which is always cool to hear. Game theory and stuff like that. I like hearing other people's perspectives. Even if I still disagree with it, I still like to hear where their mind at, and if it works for them, it works for them. Even if I disagree, if it works, it works. But it's just nice to hear people talk about card games. Clearly, I am sleepy, but ironically, I probably won't sleep for a couple more hours. Even though I was basically dozing off on the train on the way home. Trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah, since I was saying there's a tournament report, right? So what I saw there, besides me and the other Hatchhyack player, there was a Bulma player. Maybe there was 2 Bulma players. There was a lot of Gamma 1 and 2 decks out there. I think, obviously there's a couple Trunks Vegeta, since I played against 2 different players who was playing Trunks Vegeta. So there was a lot of that. Few of that Crimson Warrior Goku, basically Soul Striker 2.0. So he was there. Trying to think of any other deck that was highly represented. Obviously, Crossworld TCG and the team was there. Almost, I'll say, a little over 50% of Crossworld team was there, so that was cool. And I'm like, why did I mention the team? The reason I mentioned the team is because I'm pointing out that Joey will obviously do like a meta report or something, of the event, so he'll do better than me. I'm just pointing out some stuff that I noticed from when I was there. Some of the decks that I kept seeing, some of the decks I was seeing out there in the wild, as they say. Yep, the sleepiness is really kicking in, slowly taking me down. Trying to think if there's anything else that's important. I placed 82nd out of 104 or something like that. I think that was the 104. Is that how many players it was, or that's just the top? That's just the ranking based off of whoever was, of the people that's still there. But it's hard to say. But let's say it's 104 players was there. I came in I'm 82nd, so I did good. The fact that I'm 82nd, not 104, yeah, I did good enough. I did notice that I placed higher than Jaku, so I noticed that. Who else I placed higher than? Can't remember who else other than Jaku at the moment. Well, for all that, I might as well just show you the pairing. Scott actually had obviously, you see me there, 82. I got 6 points because pretty much it's 3 points per W, and I got 2 Ws. I played, let's see, yeah, obviously I played all 9 rounds. Most people didn't. Most people played like 5. So I played 4 rounds more than most people, which means I got 4 more L's than people got. That's all that means, right? But I still placed higher, which it's cool because I did play more. Let me see, like I said. Oh yeah, there you go. Ryan Severin. That's the other person on top. That I placed higher than. They Jaku and Ryan only played 6 games. I played 9. The importance of staying until the end. You could place higher. Ryan Severin. That reminds me, because this was because I was first round game. I looked to my left. And I see somebody that looks a little familiar, but I wasn't too sure. Like, this person looks a little familiar. Who is this? And then I look in the pairings, because we can check the pairings on our on our phone, and I'm like, okay, who's paired next to me? And it says Ryan Severin. I'm like, so I hit him on his shoulder with the back of my hand. And I'm like, it's you, Ryan. This is you, Ryan Severin. Hey, what's up, man? Well, the usual. It was just funny. He was pretty chill. He probably was tired as hell, so he could care less. Yeah, he seemed very. He seemed like he looked like he was tired. I don't blame him, considering the fact that I got off of 72, and the only reason Jesse Martinez is 72 is because he got a W from me, which he forgot to punch it in. So if I'm right, I placed higher than him. No, he was an 80 because I'm 82. He was 80, so he placed a little bit higher than me. But then I realized that he didn't count that he just beat me, so I punched it in that he won, and then that just bumped him up straight up to 72. So you're welcome, Jess. Because you were originally right here at 80 while I was at 82. So Benjamin took your spot and you went all the way up to 72. So you're 10 spots higher than me. Yay! You deserved it. I had a lot of fun. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Well, obviously, Mr. Number 72. He was my round 9 opponent, and we were going back and forth. Lots of stuff. As you can see, Scott came at 50. That's cool. He's up there. He's halfway up there. And in case you want to see who's was going up, I was like, Justin Reels was there. Like, I recognize that name. Yeah, there was obviously a lot of familiar faces. I'm like, Franklin Miller. It's like, is that Frank Miller? All right. Anyway, so that was cool. I had to get the app. Like, I thought we were using like the Bandai TCG Plus or something, but we used something different for the event. But it was cool. Let's see. Well, one, my skillless Hatchhyack deck has been battle tested very thoroughly in a competitive scene. For those who, complain that, our decks aren't tested competitively, blah blah blah, or they're not good enough for competitive play, or whatever opinions some people might have. But as you can see, it do have competitive capabilities, right? Obviously, they're good for competitive play. You just got to make sure you get the W's with them. Because I've said this many times before. It's not really it's not the deck. It's more the player than anything else. Because that reminds me that there was some guys that were talking. Like I said, it was having shop talk, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's matchup dependent. Match up dependent. That's why pre-siding is important. Blah 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 blah." And it's like, nope. Because one, I didn't side at all. I have no side deck. I don't side deck. Most of y'all already know that. So I don't side deck. So most of my opponents were a little surprised. Like, they're just there siding, look over at me and like, you could side deck now. I'm like, oh, I don't have a side deck. Oh, and they just continue siding. Of course, a couple people bringing up the whole, bringing up super combo, and me pointing out that I don't have them. Not in this deck anyway. Let's see. Yeah, and of course a lot of people, referring to me as Mr. Super Combo. So that's funny. Let's see. What else? What else of value can we gain from my elves? Trying to think of anything important. There's some cards that are good in certain situations, obviously, but were meh at most, right? Meh at most. Protect of the People, it's not a bad card. It just meh. It just felt more like a normal negate, didn't feel floodgate-ish. It did come in handy in one game, but other than that, it was like meh. The leader does a lot. The leader does a good job of slowing my opponent's attacks down, so I would be better off playing something else. Yeah, that's something. I might bring that one back. For that build specifically, I Max Power Kamehameha I would recommend instead of Protector of the People. Max Power Kamehameha. If you like Petrification, you do you. I don't play that card myself, but Max Power Kamehameha is what I would use instead, just because at least it has another function other than negating. So there's that, and then I had the 2-drop Finn. I used it a couple of times. It put in some work, but logically it was a little lackluster considering the fact that I'd rather play stuff that at least can be useful on my opponent's turn and be a threat on my opponent's turn, or at least help me output more damage. I would have preferred that a way to output more damage. In my mind, I just thought of like Planet M2. That'd be funny. But yeah, I would rather have had something else I could have used. Ironically, like against some of the decks that were like really hitting my hand hard, or like a little bit of hand control, or I had to combo, 10k, 15k worth of cards in my hand. For those rare occasions, would have been nice to have the what's his name, Dr. Leche, the reusable blocker, because I go obviously bring it back from the drop for 2 energy. Oh yeah, that reminds me. There was a couple times where I did use the Goku Adventure Begins 2 energy effect to bring out a skillless battle card, and of course swing with it and then play the 4-star ball and then have a 20k swinging at my opponent. So I've done that a couple times. What else? Some basic lines of plays obviously is you want to play your you want to, before you use your leader's effect, to try to help yourself awaken, you want to go grab the balls with the force. You want to swing with the units, the same sign units, and then minus it to bring out the skills battle cards. Then, of course, swing once, and then use the leader's ability. Use use Goku to grab the 4-star balls, and then do the leader's effect. That kind of basic stuff. You want to do certain things before you do the leader's effect, but don't forget to do the leader's effect. You don't want to end your turn and realize that you forgot to do the leader's effect, which means you threw yourself 1 turn. You're 1 turn behind on awakening your leader, so that will suck. Trying to think, and the basic stuff, the defensive stuff. Obviously you want to try to stop, first turn damage. If you can stop damage turn 1, turn 2, you'll be in a really good position, because once you have 3 or more energy, I've mentioned many times before, it's easy to defend when you have 3 or more energy. So keep that in mind. And a lot of times, I had 8 life or 7 life, and by the time I got my opponent down to like 3 life or 2 life, I still had a high life. It's just eventually, they played out some, big play that allowed them to get, a lot of damage through, my obvious defense, right? And then, and then knocked me from, 7 down to 2 life or 1 life or something like that. So let's see. Any other little tidbits y'all can learn from the event? Whether it's best of 1 or best of 3, you should definitely be trying to win game 1. Obviously, you definitely want to. Well, ideally for me anyway, my viewpoint is you want to do your opponent as much damage as quickly as possible, right? Go hard, go aggro, put your opponent in a shaky position. That's how I call it, in a shaky position, because I always say it, you want to make the game easier for yourself but harder for your opponent, so I definitely make it hard for my opponent. That's what she said, right? I definitely make it hard for my opponents, and that way they're the ones thinking, overthinking, overthinking, right? Their plays, even something as simple as just like, I only have like 2 or 3 cards in my hands, yet my opponent's debating if they should attack with a double strike or not. It's like, yes, if you want to deal me damage, you might want to swing with that double strike. I only have a couple cards in my hands. You might want to take advantage of it before my hand size get bigger, obviously, right? So the fact that I, have that effect on some people where it's like, they were hesitating, I get it, because in a real fight, you don't want to make the mistake, to throw a punch and then your opponent counters and knocks you the hell out, right? You don't want to be that guy, right? So you want to be cautious, right? Whenever you make a move, but it was nice. It just made me feel accomplished that that I'm able to come on in, sit down in front of these people who probably played for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of Dragon Ball Super, I've played very little, especially according to one of my untapped accounts. I have very little, like 93 hours of gameplay, of play hours, and then less than 150, games. And like, damn, I played that in 4+ years. I only played a little over 100 games. That's not good. I should definitely have played way more games than that. And of course, I'll try to catch up. I'll try to play more games. Alright. What was I saying? I can literally talk for hours, so I might as well just stop here. Hopefully, this helps those who play Hatchhyack.